This is fine. Draft. In this. Achha, meanwhile, anyone tried? And just to find out where I have kept the answer. Okay, fine. That I can always share later. Yeah. Snehbandhu? Snehbandhu?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
You got the answer. What answer you got? Tell me.
Sir, I got the answer, but the expression for that, the second expression for the
So how much
spring
work done you
K2,
got?
like
How much
the
work done you
last
got?
term of that.
Okay, how much work done you got?
I got, sir, it was by two method we can do, no? Like
Whatever it is,
average
answer
of
cannot
pressure
change, na?
into V2 minus V1.
Yeah, Sneh, answer cannot change. So what answer you got?
I did here only 1 minute, sir. I need to find where I did.
Problem. In case you tried, otherwise it's fine.
Yeah, it was like 0.07 into like 0.07 into 10 to the power 6, like this.
Yeah, fine.
I did rough calculations.
Yeah, you are right. So basically it's coming 70 kilojoule.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. In this only PPT, while making this expression,
Yeah.
like V2 plus V1 minus 2V0, that I'm not getting. Like
that we'll see. Yes,
I'm not
perfect.
able to
That
understand.
all we will see. So answer is 70 kilojoule for this one. Okay. So let's go one by one. Okay. So let me open the, because I solved it. Although this is supposed to be by TS, soon I'll ask TS to handle this. Let me open it. I have downloaded it for you just now. So there's so many things appear in the screen. Nah? Sometimes it's difficult to manage. Oh, is it? No, it's fine. Okay, and then later on I'll paste it in the PPT. You can see my screen, I guess, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, fine. Okay. This is one more. Okay, so at any instant, what we can say, so this answer is 70 kilojoule, that's for you. At any instant, what we can say, that there is a force balance, right? That the net force on this piston is 0. We are assuming piston is massless. And the starting point I am saying is x equal to 0. So at any location x, what I can write? That P gas into A, it's written here. Font are visible, or I should zoom it? Abhilash?
Fine.
Anyone?
No issues.
Okay, fine. So P gas into A, that is gas pressure from inside, that is equal to PA atmospheric, which I denoted by PA, into A, area of cross section of the piston, plus KX. So what we got, P gas is PA plus KX by A, where X is measured from the initial position, X equal to 0, we are saying. Okay. So if you go in the problem, X equal to 0 is nothing but this one. This is X equal to 0. Okay. And then from here we are measuring X. So at any location x in general, what we can say that there is a force balance. So P gas can be expressed in terms of x. Okay. Now we can also say that A into x, that is area of cross section of piston into x, is nothing but delta V, change in volume, which is V minus V naught, where V naught is the initial volume. So x is nothing but V minus V naught by A. Okay. So P gas is simply Pa plus K V minus V naught by A square. Okay. Now, before we move, is this process is quasi-static? Any comment? Anyone want to comment? If not, also we have to assume, otherwise we cannot answer.
If the gas is heated very slowly, then it will be
Yeah,
quasi-static.
very good, very good, very good addition. Very good, thank you. So it's not written in the problem, and most of the times it will not written. You have to assume it's a quasi-static work, and then how the person who is performing this, how he will manage, that is not the agenda of this course. But yes, that is a very practical issue. As someone said, that it should be what? Slow addition of heat. Slow addition of heat. Okay. Then only very slowly this gas will expand, and then you can say it's a quasi-static process, and we can use this formula, P integral dV. And since we are saying at every instant there is a equilibrium, so you disturb a bit. How we are disturbing? Who said slow addition of gas? Slow addition of heat? Ayush, who was it? Who was it?
Sir, it's me, Tanmay.
So Tanmay, so there is slow addition of heat. So it
Yes.
means when you add the heat, what happens?
When the heat is added, then the volume of gas will increase by dV amount.
Yeah, so there is a very infinitesimally disturbance from the equilibrium, right? That's what we learned yesterday. That
Yes.
you have to disturb the system infinitesimally from the equilibrium. So when you add the heat, that's what we are doing. Okay. So that's why I asked you, because you said so slow addition of heat, it imparts very, very small disturbance or imbalance in the system. And then system attains an equilibrium state. So system goes through numerous equilibrium states, and hence you can use this formula safely. You see, you cannot, although in exam also you will use it blindly, because I cannot frame a non-quasi-static work problem. But keep in mind that there are so many assumptions, so many things behind when you use this formula, which you use bluntly till the date. Okay. So P gas is what we already know. This. So one way to calculate work, as someone said, there are two ways, and I also discussed in the last class, that one way is that if you know how the system pressure in this problem, that how the gas pressure varies volume, you can answer it. So we know how pressure varies with volume. We know V as a function of V. And practically it means that it goes through many numerous equilibrium states. So then you simply integrate it. Okay. Volume goes from V naught to Vf. So you got this term, Pa Vf minus V naught, and this term K square V minus, this is Vf. Sorry, after putting the limit it will be Vf, not now. So this is V minus V naught square by 2, and then you put the limit. So here, this is Pa Vf minus V naught, and this is another term. Okay. So that is our work done by gas. Now see it carefully. So Sneh, you are asking that second part you are not able to. Right. Is that the second
Yes,
part?
yes.
That,
Now I got it, sir.
you got it, right? So this you can simply see this is work done against the atmosphere, and then you try to calculate the work done against the spring. What it will be? Kx dx going from 0 to x. X equal to 0 means initial V naught. Don't say it x0 means V0. X is location 0, means their system has some initial volume. So we can convert this x in terms of volume. We have seen here. So I express it in terms of volume, and then volume goes from V0 to V, integrate it, you will get this term. So this term is this. So this term is nothing but work done by gas against spring. So what you see, there are two ways to calculate it. If sometimes if you find it difficult to find that how the system pressure varies with volume, there is another way. And if you find it easy, you can go ahead, no problem. That all you need to do, that work done against the various opposing forces. Okay, I'm making this statement, and I will not make, and then I will again add something to this. Right now, what I'm saying, we can do work calculation by simply PdV integral, or we can simply calculate the work done against the opposing forces, and I can add them. Both are same. So should I add something else? Anyone wants to comment at this point of time? Otherwise, I'm going to comment anyway after some time. Any comment here? Anything I am missing in this statement? The answer is on the whiteboard. Charvi, you want to comment something? If you are there, I mean, if you are in the class, because I'm not seeing the participant list. Bhavna?
Yes, sir.
What do you think? What else I must mention? The answer is on the whiteboard. Just guess, otherwise I'll mention. So what I'm asking, maybe let me frame the question again. I'm saying that one can calculate the work done by calculating the work done against the opposing forces, all the work done, and I can add them. Is this statement always true, or or in order to have it always true, we should say something else?
We can do it in quasi-static.
Very good, very good. Those all opposing forces against those all opposing forces individually, the work should be quasi-static. Okay, how we will see. In this problem, of course, you cannot. There is no point of decoupling it. Okay, because here the whole process, this atmospheric pressure plus spring, that itself total is in quasi-static mode. But we'll see the problem where you will see that there are two steps where first only atmospheric pressure is there and then spring is there. We'll see. Okay. So, but even if we ignore this point, because in this module we are not going to cover any non-quasi-static process, and that is not possible also. In general, you can remember that if you can calculate the work done against various opposing forces, if you'll add them, means if you are doing it reversibly, then you can add all of them and you will get the work done by the gas. Okay, and that's all. Then you can put the values, because you know V0, you know Vf, everything is known. Remember, pressure is in megapascal, so you convert it in Pascal. Okay, volume of course in meter cube. What else? You can do it. Okay, answer is 70 kilojoule. And then another part was, and that is here, that can we yeah, so new page. So another was that this one, that work done by gas is nothing but total change in volume. In this statement is only true for what we call it just quasi-static mode. I mean, we should say it quasi-static, of course, pressure volume work. Of course, one can generalize it for others or other mode of works also. If you'll see it carefully, you can generalize it. P will be replaced by something else. V will be replaced by something else. You can anyway. So quasi-static PV work, or what we call boundary movement work. Okay. So it's not very difficult. You see, this we already done. This we got in the last slide. Okay. Now, what is our initial pressure P0? It is atmospheric pressure. What is our final? Because at every moment there is equilibrium, and what system says that when you are at the initial point, the atmospheric pressure and the inside pressure are equal, and the spring is its natural length, neither extended nor compressed. So So P naught is simply P naught of gas, of course. Gas is hidden here. So P naught gas is PA. And what is P final gas? Is nothing but PA plus KX by A. Express X in terms of VF and V naught. You are smart enough. Okay. So you see here, in this you can take common VF minus V naught. So this factor comes out and you left with PA plus K by square VF minus V naught by 2. Okay. I can write this PA as PA by 2 plus PA by 2 and K that time is as it is. VF minus V PA by 2. And then I combine these two terms. You will get this term in the numerator PA plus K VF minus V naught by A square, which is nothing but P final. This is P final. And that's all. We reach to this point. That work done by gas in quasi-static PV work is nothing but change in volume into average pressure. Average pressure means initial and average of initial and final pressure. That's all. Fine. So Anik, is it okay? Ayush?
Sir.
Yeah. Any doubt?
Sir, but the work done by the gas must be dependent upon the process.
Work done by the gas must be
Means,
dependent.
sir, in this we have the system.
No. Yeah, you are right. I mean, that's why I'm not generalizing.
We cannot generalize this statement.
No. I mean to say that if pressure and volume are varying, of course, you are right. I'm not saying that if it's isobaric process, then the work done is 0. So let's don't generalize it. Huh? We can confine it. If you are not comfortable enough, there is no point of generalizing. Yes.
Means that this is statement which you are saying, like work done by the gas is average pressure into change in volume. Like this statement will be correct for this.
If work is quasi-static, I think it should be. I think so.
But for every
I'm sorry. I at this point, I don't know. Maybe you are right. I don't know. Because there is no mention of heat and other stuff, right? You are saying there may be some work also. I think you are
actually this statement is correct because the pressure is varying linearly. That's why in the process which is reversible and pressure is varying linearly, this statement is correct. Otherwise, it is not correct. For example,
so basically it depends on that.
In isothermal process, PV is equal to constant. So in that case, this will not be correct.
So I think rather I should not generalize it. Huh? I think it may lead to a wrong conclusion. I'm very thankful to both of you at least. I should not generalize it. Huh? Let's leave it. I thought it's general, but now I think yes, it depends on the process also. Very good. No, I shouldn't make this statement. Okay, but this much we can say that if there is a spring piston system, then probably this will work, right? No, then also not. It depends on how we are expanding it, whether it's a adiabatic expansion or what kind of expansion it is, right? And whether pressure is varying linearly with volume or not, right? Who was it? Who said it? Very good. Because it's completely
mathematical. In this, the pressure is varying linear because we are having this spring.
Yeah, we are having this spring. Yeah, true. That's the main reason. That there is a restoring force which is proportional to the length, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. Perfect. So let's don't generalize it. Very good. I mean, we are engineers, so we should not generalize things. We have maths, we have science. Let's implement it. Okay. You know, sometimes people like that closure statement. So I thought if I can make, but that's not a good idea. I don't do that generally. Okay. So this problem is done. I think there is no more confusion. Okay. This is just a quick formula. If you have spring, yes, please.
So can we take the spring and the gas as a system and say that the work done by the gas is equal to the increase in elastic potential energy of spring and use the formula of half kx square for the spring?
Yes.
But then in that case, how do we find the internal energy increase?
No, but then if you are including the spring, so you want to include the spring, and then in that case, there is work done against the atmospheric pressure, right? So that also you have to consider. Fine, that term will appear as the internal energy of the system. The energy of the system, E. Are you getting my point? So if you write the first law,
yes.
So the point is that there is no dq also, na? So There is no, we are adding heat, and that we don't know that how much heat we are adding. So anyway, first law will come later on. You are saying if we take the system, so let's make this problem more complex. What we can say. So if you include this also in the system plus gas, so in that case, I think then we should say that work done by gas. No, but then how will, okay, so I think you should say work done by gas plus work done by spring, right? That should be equal to what we can say. I think we should go to first law. We can say that work done against the atmospheric pressure. That's all. Then the external energy only atmospheric pressure.
Sir,
And then spring work will be negative, because then in that case it is getting compressed. So I think W.
So in this we will not include the work done by the spring.
No, he's saying if. See, he's saying if we do. You got the point.
Sir, I
No,
said,
it's not what. No. So you are saying
elastic
no.
potential
Wait.
energy of this
I got your point. Then we have to go to the first law. That's the problem, right? We don't know the Q. That's what I'm saying to you. That.
So first will not be applicable here.
Yeah, exactly. Then work done by gas you cannot calculate. That's the problem. If you want to calculate the work done by the gas, then this is the only way. If you change your system, then of course you can apply the first law. You can calculate other quantities, but I don't think we can calculate the work done by the gas by changing the system. It will be difficult. We can apply first law. Then when you write this dou W, how do we write? So dou W, anyone? So we write dou Q equals to dou E plus dou W, right? So dou W is nothing but, sorry, dou is nothing but dou Q minus dou. So our first law is, sorry, it's DE, not dou E. DE is dou Q minus dou W. Okay, so of course there is a dou Q because heat is getting supplied to the system. And who asked this? Bhavna. So now we can discuss here. So D, as you said, in this D, you will include now which one? Now the spring energy, right?
Yes, sir.
Spring energy, yeah. And here, so this is of course this one can ask to calculate. We don't know that, we have to calculate indirectly. And what about this delta W? Which term? Only W against against
the
atmosphere. That's all. That's all we can do. But we cannot calculate work done by gas using this. For that, one has to provide this dou Q. In fact, someone asked other way, that if I give you this much information, find out a heat change. And just a suggestion here, since Bhavna raised this too, a very good point. Now you can realize that the choice of system is very important. If you don't choose your system wisely, then problem becomes difficult. And we are here to solve the problem. Okay. So always choice of system should be smart. Okay. Fine.
Okay,
all right. I mean, we cannot do that. It will make the problem complex. Okay. So this is done. Now we'll go to the second problem. Yeah, this one. Okay, here. This one is interesting. So here what we have, let me draw it also. In fact, I can remove the PPT mode. So we have this piston cylinders assembly. A figure is not here. I'll send you the figure. Basically, it's like this. Okay, we have a massless piston. And frictionless, of course. So it is a piston is massless and springless. Sorry, frictionless. not to springless, frictionless. Okay. Gas obeys this ideal gas law. PV equals to RT. It's written. Oh, it's written there, so I am writing. Okay. Great. Then what we are doing? The initial gas pressure is 0.1 megapascal, right? And atmospheric pressure is P atmospheric is 0.1 megapascal. This is not the right place to write it because I have put spring here. Okay. So initially the atmosphere, so P atmospheric, mention it. P atmospheric is also 0.1 megapascal. Okay. The gas is heated and it allows the piston to move. So you are supplying heat to the gas. Okay. So initially it is not touching the spring. It is saying that once the gas volume is doubled, the piston touches a spring which is fixed at a distance above the cylinder. So let's say initial volume is V naught. Anyone? How we can calculate initial volume?
So we can
Yes.
use the formula
Yeah, so it's
RT by P.
RT by P naught. Then what happens? Gas doubles its volume and then it starts touching the spring. Okay. So if you will draw the PV diagram, when I am writing this here, is it visible? Bhavna, is it visible on this PV diagram? Can you see that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. Okay. So now tell me how, from going from V naught to 2 V naught. So mark it. Let's say V naught, and this is 2 V naught. How this will assume it's a quasi-static. Okay, I shouldn't mention it. How it will go? What do you think? How plot will go?
Isobaric.
Isobaric. Very good. So we are doing it very slowly, very slow addition of it. Okay, and it's an isobaric process. Because if you don't assume it isobaric, means if you don't assume that pressure is constant inside and outside, then it cannot be quasi-static. Why? Because what is the demand of quasi-static process? There should be equilibrium at each point. And this piston is only moving against the atmosphere till volume 2 V naught. So if it is only moving against the atmosphere, then the pressure inside gas must be equal to outside pressure, which is atmosphere. So pressure will remain constant. This is what is mentioned already, that it's an isobaric process. So that's how this PV diagram. So if it is PA, which is P atmospheric, and we are assuming we are performing it quasi-statically. How we can do it? Already someone commented, by very slow addition of it. Very small amount of it, gas will expand. Again, slight amount of addition, gas will expand. So this is isobaric process. Okay, it is not mentioned, but you have to assume it. There is no other way. Otherwise, how work will quasi-static? And in all the problems, that's what we can do. Work has to be quasi-static. Fine. Okay. So up to 2 V naught. And then what? Then it touches the spring. Okay. Then it touches the spring. So let's say this is 1, position 1. This is 2. Okay. And then it will get compressed. This piston will get compressed up to the point when volume becomes 3 V naught. Okay. So this is position 3. You see, if heating of the gas is continued till the volume of gas is 3 times of its original volume, and at that time the pressure rises to 0.3 megapascal. Okay, since now you have a spring, there is something to maintain this quasi-static work. Okay, that is spring. So then pressure can vary. So pressure becomes 0.3 megapascal. It has to, because now you are playing with spring force, and in order to maintain the balance at each point, the net force 0, pressure inside the gas has to vary, because now it's not only atmosphere. Apart from atmosphere, we have this spring also. So in order to maintain the equilibrium at each point, pressure has to vary. So from 1 to 2, there is no need of variation of pressure. It will remain constant because you are expanding against a constant atmosphere. I mean, constant atmospheric pressure. Then there is a spring, so pressure will, and pressure reaches to, finally, when this piston reaches to position 3, this pressure becomes 0.3 megapascal. Okay. Remember, these all processes are very hypothetical. In reality, assuming attaining a quasi-static process, it's very difficult. Anyway, assume that spring exerts a force which is proportional to the deformation, means Hooke's law. Calculate the work done by the gas and the change in the potential energy of the spring. Okay. So from 1 to 2, it's very easy. You can easily calculate it. This work. There is nothing but area under curve. And after that, anyone, any suggestion?
Sir, like you can mark one point in that, like one point with coordinate 3 PA comma 3 V naught.
Sorry, come again.
0.3 megapascal.
Yeah, of course, we can.
Set 3 times of the
3 times
PA
of, yeah, I got
and
it.
3 times V naught.
Yeah,
And
somewhere
just
here.
join those points.
No, but then it's not in a straight line, right?
So that would be,
No.
it would be straight line.
Oh, yeah. In this case, it would be straight line. You are right. Because we have spring, na? Very good. Thank you.
Yes, sir. And we'll calculate the area under the
You are
curve.
right. I thought something else. You are right. Yes. So we know this. You know everything. Okay. So it's simply the area of this trapezium, right? Which is nothing but, if we'll calculate this one, so half V naught, half sum of parallels this distance, and what it will be, the sum of what we call it, the parallel sides. How much it is? So this is 0.4. 0.4, right? Megapascal. So into 10 to the power 6. That's all. Okay. You do it. I checked it. You will get the answer. Okay. I'll give you the answer, by the way. I forgot to mention here. So it's not difficult. And then what is the second? So it's comes out to be 7 point something. I don't remember, but I think it's you will. So take R as, I checked it. I solved it. You have to take 8.314. If you take this value, you will get the answer. Okay. So it's straightforward. Nothing difficult. What was interesting, that you have to say that it's isobaric process, so that it happens quasi-statically. If there is an abrupt increase, we cannot solve this problem. We are assuming it's a quasi-static, both from 1 to 2 and 2 to 3. Okay. So we already represented the process in PV diagram. Of course, it's linear because P varies linearly with V if you have a spring. Okay, that's it. And how we'll calculate the change in potential energy of the spring? Anyone? So all we need to see that how much spring got compressed, right? How we can do that?
We will minus the work of against atmosphere.
So basically, how much volume
work of
compression
gas.
is there? How much volume compression is there? V naught, right? Don't you think so? Because it's volume goes from V naught to 2 V naught and 2 V naught to 3 V naught, right? Who was it?
So Sneh.
Sneh. So it's easy, right? All you need to know the final what we call that, how much it is getting compressed. So how much volume compression is there against the spring? V naught, right? Because it is going from 2 V naught to 3 V naught, right? Sneh.
But sir, there will be like from 2 V naught to 3 V naught. There is also work done against atmosphere.
Yeah, against that, but it is only asking the change in the spring energy. So all you need to know the compression in the spring, na?
Yeah.
So once you know the x, you can simply say half kx square. That's all.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
That way
that's all.
also.
I mean, it is simply asking that how much is the change in spring energy. That's all. Fine. So these two illustrations from my side. Now I will share some practice problems. If there is something crucial, I'll discuss also. Okay. Now we are going to something else. Now maybe this question is coming in your mind that why only two problems? We have first or third lines, we should solve more. We will solve more, but not these simple problems where we have only a gas. We will solve those problems where we have multiple phases, or where there is a phase change. There we will. So you will start with steam. Steam will form, let's say, this condensed state. Then liquid may go to solid. So all these things we will tackle. Okay. So that's why in order to do the more practical problems on first law, first we have to learn thermodynamics, thermodynamic properties. Okay. Or what we call phase change for a pure substance. So that's what today's agenda. This is lecture 5, which I am going to share with you. Yeah, thermodynamic. Okay, so from here we'll start. Lecture 5, this one. Yes. Okay. So thermodynamic properties we have seen, right? So this we have already seen, thermodynamic properties. Okay. So we said that in order to have a macroscopic description of a system or state, to know that complete description of a given state, we need some basic quantities. Those are called thermodynamic properties. Now, in order to specify, there can be multiple thermodynamic properties, but in order to specify a particular state, you may not need them all. You may need only few of them. What experience tells us, okay, and that is a postulate. I thought I will skip it, but just to give you a hint, we can't prove it here because, so for example, one can cross question that why we need only two variables for this pressure volume, therefore for let's say gas or whatever problem, compressible fluids. So just in order to say something about that how many variables we need, there is a postulate. It says that if you have n modes of quasi-static works, the way you can transfer energy, n modes of quasi-static work. We have seen various modes of work: electrical work, mechanical work, magnetic work, and also surface tension work. So if there are n modes of quasi-static work, and then there is +1, from where this +1 is coming? So there are n modes of work transfer mode, quasi-static mode. What else? +1 is for which mode? Anyone? Yes, anyone? +1 is for what? So how you can transfer the energy apart from this work? Heat. Okay. So the total mode of energy transfer is n+1. And experience says, there is no proof, that since there are n+1 modes of energy transfer, the independent variables which you need to specify a state will be also n+1. That's what experience says. That's why it's postulate. We are not going to spend much time on this. Okay, this is more deep study, but I thought just a flavor I'll give you, a small discussion, that if you have n+1 modes of energy transfer, independent mode of energy transfer, okay, then there will be you will be requiring n+1 independent variables in order to specify, or n+1 thermodynamic property in order to specify the state of a system completely, and others will be can be derived from these independent parameters. Okay. Okay, so we will not waste much time on this because it's a more deep concept. Here we are here to learn this thermodynamics from engineering point of view, so that's fine. We are not going to focus much on postulates. Okay. So then, first we are only going to talk about pure substance. Multi-component system will be discussed after a winter break. I mean, just one week before by Professor Gargidas. So we will focus only on pure substance. There are very sophisticated definitions of pure substance in some books. I mean, ultimately, it's the thing to realize that what is a pure substance. Very simple description is it's a single chemical species having fixed composition, okay, and generally can be described by two variables in our case. Because most of the problems which we are going to tackle, the only quasi-static work mode is this PV work mode, okay, pressure volume work, and then one heat. So two modes of energy transfer. So we will be needing two variables. So one is our quasi-static pressure volume work, which is kind of mechanical work, plus heat. So we have two modes of energy transfer which we are going to tackle. So we will be needing two variables, okay, two thermodynamic properties anytime to specify a state, okay. So this is pure substance which has a fixed composition throughout. What about phase? What about phase? Anyone? What is phase? So liquid phase, solid phase, gas phase. Okay. So pure substance means single substance. Okay. Not element. We are talking about substance. And then phase. Phase is nothing but a specified mass of substance having uniform composition and uniform physical state throughout. So if it's vapor, it's vapor. Okay. With uniform composition, not like somewhere you have more number of vapor molecules, somewhere less. Okay. So uniform composition. And so for example, if you take liquid water in liquid form, okay, it has a uniform composition. And it has added it's in liquid form throughout. So that is a phase. So generally the problem which we are going to deal, the pure substance has three phases: solid, gas, liquid. But there that phase definition is more general. More general mean to say that, let's say, if you mix water plus ethanol, okay, it is not a pure substance, but it may be a pure substance if you can maintain but generally pure substance, so let's fix it single composition. No, don't make it complicated. Okay, pure substance means single species. Here we have taken two species and we want to understand phase. So let's say if you take in a bucket water plus ethanol, okay, if you take either here a small patch of material or here anywhere or bigger or smaller, if composition of these various patches are identical and throughout, if it's liquid, it's a phase. And then let's say if you're providing heat, these both molecules can go here also. Let's say this is water and there are ethanol vapors also. So if you take any collection of if you collect sample from here, and if throughout the sample if you find it uniform and throughout its vapor phase, it is vapor phase. So that's why I discussed phase separately. There is something called liquid phase and there is something called vapor phase. Okay, so that is phase. Okay. So the first diagram which we are going to discuss, and we are going to use this diagram a lot, and then we'll solve the first law of thermodynamics problems, more practical problems. What you see here is a PV diagram of a pure substance. Okay. So what we see here is PV diagram of a pure substance. Okay. So let me draw it here also for you. So when temperature is very high, anyone can answer. When temperature is very high, then the kinetic energy of molecules are very high. So is it more close to ideal gas or far from ideal gas? What do you think?
Close to ideal.
If the
Close to
pressure
ideal.
is low, then it is
Yeah,
close
of
to
course,
ideal.
Depends
I
on
understand
pressure.
your point, pressure is low, but ignore that point. But one thing we can surely say that temperature must be high. So let's say it goes like this, pressure versus volume, maybe this curve. Then of course, when you lower down the temperature, intermolecular forces come in the picture, and then we have deviation from ideal law. So we don't know yet how curve will look like, but it will, that thing is sure that if you are maintaining a constant temperature, then pressure decreases as volume increases. That's for sure. Whether it's a van der Waals gas or virial gas, any gas, something like this. We don't know, as you can see here. So all these plots which you see are isotherms, means we are maintaining a constant temperature. Okay, T1, T2, T3. And of course, this is the direction of increasing temperature. Okay. So there exists a temperature above which it doesn't matter how much you compress it, it will never become liquid. It doesn't matter how much you compress it, it will never become liquid. What the temperature is called?
Critical temperature.
Critical temperature. So you can see here, this is critical temperature. And that's why this graph goes like this. Why it touches here, we will see. But that's how, right now, this, let's say this is the last curve where T is equal to Tc. Okay. So if your temperature is above this, it doesn't matter how much you compress the gas, it will never liquefy. It will be in gas form. Okay. Then what you do, that you go below Tc for a given substance. So when you go below critical temperature, okay, then let's see. So initially, let's say we start from here. When pressure is very low, let's say tends to 0, what is going to be the form of the substance? What your intuition says?
Gaseous.
Yeah, because the pressure is very low. So okay, so it's in gas form. Okay. Then what you do, you start compressing the gas isothermally. Okay, so you are compressing the gas, and quasi-statically. Remember, the pressure which you are applying from the top is equal to the pressure. So you do it slowly. This compression, not very fast. We are talking about, we have to go through equilibrium states. These all are solid lines. You remember that I mentioned, the moment you draw solid lines, it's hidden that you have gone through numerous equilibrium states. So you are gradually compressing the gas isothermally. So when you compress the gas, for a given volume, since you are compressing the gas and the number of molecules are same, so the molar density will increase. So for a given space, there will be more and more molecules. So there will be more bombardment on the wall of the whatever chamber you have taken. So pressure will increase. So pressure is increasing. And then after a certain point, what start taking place is phase change. Why it happens? Because when you are compressing the gas, molecules are coming closer and closer to each other. And when molecules are coming closer and closer to each other, what will come in picture and which will dominate intermolecular forces, those attractive forces. Okay. And due to those intermolecular attractive forces, vapor will go into liquid. So that is called phase change. So you are going from one phase to another phase for a pure substance. So when the phase change starts taking place, then there is no change in pressure and temperature. Okay. Then all that we know as latent heat of, what we call it when we go from liquid to vapor, latent heat of, anyone?
Vaporization.
Vaporization. Okay. So that energy goes to either breaking those what is the bonds between the molecules, or formation of the bond, whatever you say. So here, since we are going from vapor to liquid, there will be a release of energy. So at that time, no change in that, from the very before coming here during your school days also, that when there is a phase change, there is no change in pressure and temperature. So you are come here. So now I would like to ask you that what do you think that once you reach to this point, what does it mean by, let's say, if I take a point here, what does it mean? Whether we have liquid or we have vapor, what does it mean? What is the meaning of this line? See,
Liquid and
either we
vapor
have
are
liquid. So you can see
indistinguishable.
here, if we have a liquid, it will exist here. Sorry, vapor. And if we have liquid, it will exist here. This is the vapor line. This is the liquid line. So what do you think this cross means?
We cannot distinguish between liquid and vapor in that region.
Yeah. So we will see that what does this. So here, actually, we will see that this, let's say if I denote this volume by V1, this V1 will be, this is specific. So rather than capital V, we will take specific volume, small v. Small v is nothing but V by given mass, remember, throughout our discussion. So the small v will be Vg into X plus V liquid or Vf many times 1 minus X. What is X? X is called quality of the steam, and this X is defined as, can anyone guess?
Mole fraction or mass fraction?
Mass fraction. Yeah, mass fraction. Mg, mass of gas, into Mg. So whatever sample you have to know how much is in vapor phase and what is the total mass, and that's how you can calculate X, and that's how we define this V1. So any of these points neither represents the volume of liquid phase nor the vapor phase. It's the combined volume. Okay, that's how this V1 is defined. So whenever you are marking any point in this region, it is calculated through this formula. So what do you think? As we will move towards leftward, X will increase or decrease?
Decrease.
Decrease. So again, it's a matter of convention. One can always argue that why don't we define X with respect to liquid? Yes, you can. No problem. One can define steam quality of liquid rather than quality of steam. Okay, so it doesn't matter. It's just a matter of convention. Okay, so this is saturated vapor, and this is saturated liquid. So we are coming like this, and then there is a phase change starts, the point where intermolecular forces becomes dominating. Then we are here, and then after that everything is liquid. Okay, one can discuss what will happen if we again compress this gas isothermally. Then we will go to solid region. Okay, that is called, that's called triple point, where both, but we are not going to solid region because we will mostly play with vapor and liquid. So I am not touching that. I'll show you that diagram. That's what we should remember. So let's say this is at some temperature TA. Then another temperature. I'll take 5 more minutes and then you can leave. Let's take another temperature. Same thing will happen. Okay. Sorry, it's not easy to draw. That's why I brought these diagrams, because I know I'm not a very good artist. So, and in fact, on board it's very easy, but here not easy. So I'm just trying. It is on some another temperature. Okay, of course, temperature is increasing in this direction. Okay, and so on. So if you will join all these if you join all these transition points, you will get this one. And if you join this transition point, you'll get this one. So you keep on doing the experiment till you reach to TC, and that's how it looks like. You see how good diagram I have drawn. That's why I brought this. Anyway, that's why it's here. I mean, there's nothing to worry. I have already a printed diagram. So that's how we create this phase diagram or phase boundaries. This boundary is vapor liquid boundary. Okay. So here we have liquid, here we have vapor, and in between is nothing. It's just a representation. When you take any point in between, it means that you have to calculate Vg and Vf separately. Vg is for gas, Vf is for fluid. So that's how PV diagram looks like. Is PV diagram clear to everyone? I have put few more. Please try to draw it by your own, at least once. If anyone has anything to ask, there may be many things to ask, and probably we won't be able to address them at this time or anyway, because it's very difficult to answer it for real fluids. But anyway, is it clear in general, Ayush, Bhavna, roughly how we get this phase diagram or this phase boundaries? Yeah.
Yes,
So
sir,
these all are isotherms. Okay, these all are isotherms. Above critical temperature, it will be simply in gas form. Below critical temperature, only you can liquefy a gas. And these isotherms don't intersect each other, of course. No doubt about this. Okay. So today we learned this PV diagram. Then we will see PV diagram. Then we will see PT diagram, which is very less beneficial, but just for the knowledge. Then we will see temperature entropy diagram and enthalpy entropy diagram. So what we are going to see is, sorry. So we have seen PV, we will see probably TV, then PT, then TS, HS. I will not give the expression of HS and TS right now, because for that we have to cover second law also, but I'll tell you how to use that diagram. This HS diagram, enthalpy. Sorry. Yes. Someone said something? Hello? 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 Can anyone respond?
I think there was someone's mic on.
Oh, okay. Okay, that's fine. Okay. So what we are going to, sorry. Okay. So what we are going to see, enthalpy entropy diagram also. And this was given by an engineer with the name Mollier. So you'll find this diagram is very famous, Mollier diagram. From engineering aspect, this HS diagram is very important. So we are not going to see that how we create this diagram right now in the next lecture. We will see it after maybe 5-6 lectures, that how this diagram has been created. But we'll use this diagram for first law. So after seeing all these thermodynamic properties of pure substance in various graphical form as well as tabular form also. Okay, we will see tabular. So let me give you homework, and then you can leave. in tabular form also. And of course, we are going to see such tabular form of what? Thermodynamic properties. So mostly we will do the problems of based on water. So that table is called steam table. You can give a Google search. Please do it and try to get familiar with this, which we are going to use anyway in our practice problems. Steam table. You can do a Google search. Okay. Just give a Google search and try to see. That's a homework for you. That's all. Nothing else. I'll send you the practice problems on what we have discussed today. But my suggestion to you will be, try to focus what we are discussing in the class, those type of problems, and you solve only those type of problems. Because what happens, you can hover here and there through many books in thermodynamics. The problem with thermodynamic practice problem is that whoever is the author, it's difficult to spend so much time in framing the problem. And then there can be mistake also. There are some assumptions which author forgot to mention. And then you may get confused with that. So I have to also spend the time in choosing the correct problem where everything is given. If not, then I have to tell you. For example, today we have seen that we have to assume it's isobaric process in the problem number 2. Otherwise, you cannot solve it. Okay. So don't hover here and there. Whatever I am sending you, that is more than enough. Practice problems and the problem which you are solving in the class. Okay. Okay. So we meet tomorrow. Long class 9 to 11. We'll have a break of 5-10 minutes in tomorrow's session. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks. Proceed for your lunch.